I can't lie to you guys anymore. I'm gonna have to come clean. The banana that I modeled for my Class A plugin wasn't actually magical. It was just a regular banana painted magical colors. So I'm gonna have to make it up to you guys. And so I've now released a completely free upgrade for everyone who already bought Class A. And I'm gonna demonstrate how powerful the plugin is with in-depth audio examples later in the video, so stay tuned. So Whitesea Studios thought the plugin needed linked input and output gain.
Got no way of linking the input and output gain together. Congratulations! Yeah, that's why you paid €9 for this plugin.
So I added a link button, and someone commented that the XY controls for the 3D objects should be directly editable, and that you should also be able to double click to reset them. So I did that also. And I also added a gain boost button, which doubles the maximum gain and attenuation. But what's more, I've also gone ahead and added a couple of completely new features that nobody has ever done before. So I have, for the first time ever, succeeded at accurately replicating the exact electroacoustical properties of this Trout. Now, this is a bit complicated what it exactly does, so I'm going to explain it now with some diagrams. So the Trout is a 3D wave shaper. So if we imagine here, we have the input signal and we have what is coming out of that effect. Well, let's say we have the input signal comes in there. Well, where does it go out? We don't know yet. If we had a straight line here, or it would come in and it would go out the same place, come in and go out, and it would just be 1 to 1 the same. So if it comes in here 7, it's going to leave 7, and it comes in here 2, then it's going to leave 2. But what happens if we do a non-linear thing here, instead of doing a straight line? What happens if we do this instead? Well, if the input signal comes in here, or it's going to leave there, and if the input signal comes in way louder here, well, it might leave there. It might leave it even lower. So the louder it is, maybe in some circumstances, the quieter it will come out the other side. So this is extremely non-linear. It's really messing with the input signal. And instead of a sine wave coming in there and leaving like that, the sine wave might come in and leave like looking like this, because it's doing some weird transformation to it. Now, in the Trout, there are 8 different such weird transformations. So let's say we've got one, I'll just do 4, but there's actually 8 in there. So let's say there's one like this, there's one like this, there's one like, I don't know, where I can't remember the exact shapes, but they're just weird shapes. And then what we want to do is we can play our audio through one of those, and then we can switch to another one, switch to another one. And that's cool if we had kind of like a switch. But it's nicer to be able to kind of morph between them. We want to have some kind of crossfader where we can crossfade between these different effects, these different characters of distortion. Well, how do we do that? We need interpolation, and I'm using Catmull-Rom spline interpolation, and you don't really need to understand the maths. And if I tell a secret, I don't actually understand the maths either. I'm just using the formula to achieve what I want to achieve. But you can see it really well depicted here. So if we've got a bunch of points, if we just draw a straight line between the points, then we're just going to get this kind of like jagged result. But when we use this interpolation, you see that it's this really nice smooth, it smooths everything out. And places like this, for example, instead of we're going down and we get to this line we should be going across, but it overshoots and goes further down and then comes back up. We get this really nice overshooting effect. And that's exactly what's happening with what I'm doing here. So the way that it actually works is there's only actually 8 points in each grid. So we've got like 8 grids, but on each individual grid there's only 8 points. So let's say we've got like a bunch of points like this. I didn't count them exactly. Where does the audio, if the audio comes in the sample value here, or what sample value does it take? Or if we just quantize that, it's going to have horrible quantization error. So what we need to do is we need to do some of that nice interpolation as well. So it does this nice cool overshoot stuff and is interpolated. So there's interpolation on the grids themselves, and there's interpolation between the grids. And now what we can do is add that all together. And so we have a bunch of grids that we can kind of place in a 3D domain like this way is like depth. That's like the Z axis. So if we see like a cube, this is my depiction of a cube. It's not a very good one. But we have here, we have the x-axis, here we have the y-axis, but there we have like the z-axis going back. So that's why it's a 3D wave shaper, because we're kind of like stacking the grids in kind of like in the depth, in the z-axis. But that's the internals of how the wave shaper works. But the user controls, you don't need to know any of that for the user controls. So the user controls of the Trout is just x and y. And so the x-axis is essentially wet and dry. And as you can see, if I rotate the fish downwards, the line goes completely linear. And so that means if there's a 0.5 coming in here, it will exit at 0.5. And so it's not like the wave shaper has been turned off. It's just that it's mapping it 1-to-1, so it's not doing anything at all. So we have to rotate the fish upwards to introduce the nonlinear effects of these different grids. And then if we rotate the fish 100% upwards on the y-axis, it's the maximum effect, the most wet. And then on the x-axis, we can take the fish and morph between all of these different grids, these transformations, these different characters. But despite the fact that there's 8 different grids going on here, we're able to morph very smoothly between them thanks to that interpolation that I'm doing. And you can see that here on the indication of what's happening. This is the exact transform function that is actually happening, being applied to the audio. But at the end of the day, you don't really need to know about all of that. I just thought I'd explain it for anyone who cares. At the end of the day, you can just like play with the fish and see if you like it. But in addition to the Trout, there's one further innovation which I've never seen done before. One of the things that White Sea Studios picked up on was the metering in my plugin. Now, I didn't exactly understand what he found deficient, but I'm assuming it might have something to do with the fact that when you send in a hot signal, the meters are just constantly pinned to max. Now, that seems a bit like an unsolvable problem, because if you hit maximum, you hit maximum, and that's it. How is that my fault? All meters pretty much do that. But then I was watching an interview with a legendary musician, and he was talking about his particular Marshall amplifier head. And he showed that on his particular model, the dials went up to 11.
If you can see, the numbers all go to 11.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
And that's when I had this aha moment, because who says the meters have to stop? I get that they hit maximum, but what's stopping them going past maximum? That's right, nothing. Nothing is stopping them going past maximum. So then I made in my plugin, when you activate the gain boost function, the meters don't stop. They just carry on going past maximum, and they come back round and start going down. Now, you might have thought that that was a genius idea, but not so fast, because haters like to pick holes in everything. So we need to ask ourselves, what would the haters say? I'm sure the haters would say, well, if you're not going to hit maximum at the top, well, it's going to turn around and come back down to the bottom, and then you're going to hit maximum at the bottom. So either way, you're hitting maximum, and you're just kicking the can down the road, so it's not so good after all. Well, I've got a solution for the haters, because on my plugin, after it's hit maximum at the top, and it continues past maximum and then hits maximum down the bottom, it continues again, and it goes up again. So there you go, haters. Checkmate. I've also added a delta button, and those in the know how powerful that can be. And because it's processing it, we're in the oversampled state, pre-output filtering, it maintains complete phase coherence, and you don't get any weird kind of phase stuff like you might get if you hit the delta button just in the DAW. Like, I don't know how many DAWs do that. Reaper does it. You just click one button and you get the delta. But even if you do that in Reaper, maybe you won't get the best phase coherence because of the oversampling and filtering and stuff like that. But the delta that is being calculated when you hit that button is actually done the exact same sample as the other processing. So it's the cleanest way to do it. But just like I told you in my previous video, the more features that I add, the more expensive that the plugin's going to get. So it now has gone up by €5, and it now costs €14. So everyone who already bought it, well done. You get lifetime free upgrades. So you can just get all of these new decent features at absolutely zero cost. Just download the plugin from my website. You don't even need to reactivate it. It will just work straight away if you've already activated the previous version. But if you haven't bought it yet, again, the more features I add, the more the price is going to go up. So you might as well just buy it now before the price goes up again. And then you're going to be kicking yourself when at some point I'm going to add so many features, it's going to be 50 euros. You're going to be like, why didn't I buy it when it was 9? So anyway, in my previous video, I hardly demoed the sound of the plugin at all. So let's get stuck in now with some sound examples so you can see how powerful this plugin really is. So I've got an acoustic track here. Let's take a listen.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you.
And what you might see people who demo plugins do, they'll take a finished track and they'll just get the plugin and tweak the plugin and see how it sounds.
Bring me into golden sunlight.
And yes, we get distortion because it's a saturation plugin, so no surprise. But I find it a bit lazy. Normally you don't use a saturation plugin to just run it on a finished track. And so that isn't really what I'm interested in when I want to demo a plugin. What I'm interested in when I want to demo a plugin is what can you actually really do with it? What can you do in an interesting, creative way with the plugin? So what I decided to do is take this somewhat ordinary acoustic song here. We can just flick through and you can see it's got no drums or anything. It's just literally guitar and vocals.
Bring me in to know this. I'm taking my son. I will get to.
It's the same vibe all the way through. But what I did was I just cut that up and used my Class A plugin. We can see here like Class A, Class A, Class A. Everything's just Class A. There's no other plugins here. It's literally just Class A. And I've got curvature on the bus, and we can hear what it sounds like me cutting up this acoustic song with the female singer. And can we do something with that sounds cool? So there you go, we were able to do something pretty cool just using that acoustic track. And you might think, yeah, but where did the kick drums come from? Where did the snare drums come from? The hi-hats, like what's going on there? Like where do you get those sounds from? Well, all of those sounds are literally just that female singer and the guitar. It's just cut up and it's got Class A all over it. As you can see, there's many instances of Class A that I'm using here. Now I've got a bit of automation that you can see here. And that's it. Like we can just bypass that. We can firstly bypass curvature and see what curvature's doing. So curvature's not actually doing all that much here. I just thought it was adding to the vibe a bit. But everything else is pretty much Class A. What we can do is we can select all of it, play it, and then bypass it, and you can hear the truth of what it actually is in the underlying mix. So hopefully you can see the power of this plugin, that I can literally just take a random acoustic track and make a whole beat out of it. Now, it's not like the best sounding beat in the world, because normally you would use some other plugins rather than just like saturation plugins. You'd normally use, I don't know, like EQ or like reverb or delay or like some other plugins. But everything you're hearing is literally all just my Class A plugin. And so if anyone thinks it is whack and you can't do that much with it and it's just a saturation plugin, well, I think that's more of a skill issue than the truth, because you can make entire beats just using this single plugin, which is ridiculous because it's not even made for that. I'm using a lot of the Trout here. The Trout is a very powerful musical instrument. I don't know which, yeah, here we go. We've got the banana spinning around. That's doing the kick drum. So as you can see, I don't need to go through everything I'm doing here. There's no tricks. If you want to download the session, I'll leave a link in the description to the session. You can download it